Sparks that I don't remember. Hold and let it shine. Fix and start to fade away. Fix and start to fade away. Fix and start to fade away.
Hello there, dear friends of Kabbalah International. It's a pleasure to have our dear friend Mario Saban joining us once again.
Thank you, Nacho. A very great pleasure, and thank you for your invitation.
Thanks, Mario. I really appreciate the reciprocal invitation. Thank you. So, Mario, our main focus today will be exploring the universality of Kabbalah. I just jotted down a few thoughts. To situate us, in analyzing today's topic proposal, it struck me that one aspect which supports the idea of Kabbalah's universality is the fact that Kabbalah is fundamentally not a closed system of beliefs. Unlike some religious doctrines, Kabbalah is not bound by dogma. This characteristic allows people from diverse backgrounds to seamlessly incorporate Kabbalah into their lives, giving them the opportunity to personally connect with its teachings and principles.
Look, the very first thing that immediately comes to me almost by instinct is this is how our cultures count time and measure the passage of years. And this is very interesting. If you go to Islam, you know that from the Hijra, from Muhammad, from the whole event in Mecca and Medina, the Islamic world starts counting its years. Then you have the Christian world, which is clear, which starts counting from the birth of Christ. So, we know that Jesus was born in 6 BC. I don't want to get into this problem. But basically everybody knows that it is fixed in the year 0. And consequently, there is a history before and after. In the case of Judaism, there was a debate because the year was counted from the Exodus.
Yes.
And then it was changed, and the rabbis made the decision to change it from the creation of the world. Consequently, the question is, why did the sages of the people of Israel decide not to count from the national event of the exodus of the people of Israel from Egypt, but rather to count from the creation of humans, from the birth of the universe, beyond that the 7 days of Genesis are not 7 days. All of this can be interpreted. But it seems to me key that the sages said, because in reality, the soul is unique for the whole civilization. We have to start with the history of humanity, not with the history of the people of Israel, because it would be ethnocentric to start with the history of the people of Israel. It would be to say we appeared, and history appears with us. In the case of Judaism, history does not begin with the people of Israel. History begins when the conscious human being becomes aware. That's why Adam could be called the conscious human being. Notice that the rabbinic interpretation says that there are previous forms of non-human consciousness. That is to say, as humanoids who came before Adam. But basically, we could say that Adam is like the prototype of the conscious human being. Adam was neither Jewish, nor Christian, nor Israeli, nor Egyptian. Adam has no nationality. And the question is, why does the biblical text begin with a subject without nationality, a subject without religion? Where were Adam and Eve from? They were Catalan, Aragonese, French. Adam and Eve were Adam and Eve. If we were to ask Adam and Eve about their nationality, they wouldn't have a passport. They are stateless. They have no homeland. They have no religion. So the first thing we have to grasp here, it is clear that the Kabbalah is universal. It cannot be otherwise. The Torah itself begins with 2 universal beings, with 2 prototypes of the universe representing the feminine and masculine aspects of the universe. Kabbalah cannot be national. It's precisely the Jewish contribution to the universal. Of course, there are nationalist tendencies within Judaism, but precisely Kabbalah, as a spirituality, seeks the rectification of all souls. It not only seeks the rectification of the souls of Israel, but also aims for the rectification of the souls of all peoples, including the Mongols, the Chinese, and everyone else. The sages introduced a concept that is key. The calendar begins with the human being, free of nationalities, free of religions. When we are in Kabbalah, we are connected, we are speaking to the soul of the person, whatever religion he is, whatever nationality he is, whether he is an atheist. The soul of the person continues to function even if the person says, I am an atheist. There is a person who says, I am an atheist, I don't believe in God. So what? Don't you have to rectify jealousy, envy, hatred, evil? The soul has to rectify the same. Being an atheist does not save you from human problems and their imbalances. The Kabbalah is helping giving models of rectification, not telling you to believe in God and not to believe in God. Kabbalah does not deal with beliefs. It deals with knowledge to be better people, to rectify with behavior, to increase the level of consciousness, to refine the actions. Therefore, a person comes and says, I am agnostic, welcome to study Kabbalah, I am an atheist, welcome to study Kabbalah. Why can't they study if Kabbalah is universal? I don't believe there is God. Well, you don't believe there is God. There are people who believe in the dog, people who believe in Buddha. Kabbalah is not a path of belief. You believe what you want or you don't believe what you want. But the question is whether you are going to be able to be a better person, a better attitude. And that's what we all have to rectify. That is what we are all in. All souls, every day, of all nationalities and of all religions. The spirituality of the Kabbalah is universal, of course. It is a contribution from the esoteric knowledge of Judaism. Judaism gave it the Hebrew language. It gave it the structure, it gave it the cultural framework, but it gave a service of the universal. Look. Nations truly contribute when they contribute universally. When nations are endogamous, self-centered, they do not contribute to the whole of humanity. What we remember about nations are the universal contributions. National contributions are epics of humanity. They are not temporary instruments. The most important thing to remember is that nations are instruments in service of humanity. Therefore, we must be careful because nationalism or fundamentalist religions have believed themselves to be ends in themselves. No, they are instruments. Every religion, nationality, and cultural structure is a tool in service of a greater good, which is humanity. If we lose sight of this goal, global end of humanity, I am not in the spiritual world. I can be in other things. But spirituality is union, never division.
2 things I noted in my notebook. Well, I noted more, but one of them is related to reinforcing Adam as the man with consciousness. That leads me to think about the etymology of his name. Because Adam means blood. Adam, blood, with the letter Aleph.
That's right, a blood related to unity.
With unity? Exactly, with unity consciousness. On one hand, you've mentioned a very interesting topic, which is the relationship of the people of Israel with the universality of Kabbalah. In that sense, I would like you to share some ideas about the delivery of the Torah. Isn't that right?
I understand where you are taking me.
Go on then.
Well, you're taking me to the desert where there are no borders, where there are no nation-states. The Torah was rightly given in the desert because it is a universal message. Unfortunately, the very term Torah has been misinterpreted as a law. It is always associated with the law of Moses, when the Torah is a map of the conscience, contains teachings that serve all people. And historically, I believe that Christianity was the first to internationalize Judaism. That is, Christianity realized that Judaism had a universal message. And Yeshua of Nazareth, being a Jew, also realized the universal message, and so did Paul. That is why Christianity was created, and that is also why Islam was created, because they are 2 universal messages from the same Jewish matrix. I believe that when a person delves into Kabbalah, they encounter a type of Judaism that truly surprises them. Because it's such an open kind of Judaism when, I think in a prejudiced way, a lot of people think that Judaism is very closed, when in fact Judaism on a spiritual level is very open. So here I think the big surprise for those who enter Kabbalah, I know from the number of students that most of them come from the Christian tradition, and they find themselves with a breadth of spirituality of Kabbalah never seen before. Undoubtedly, if there was any prejudice of anyone that Judaism is closed, Kabbalah is exactly what breaks it down. Because Kabbalah has a very impressive universal potency. And for that reason, it is spreading at such a high speed worldwide. I have Christian students, atheist students, Muslim students who are studying Kabbalah. I believe that Kabbalah will expand universally because it is working with eternal values. Of course, it was born within the Jewish culture. Nobody can deny that, because it is the people of Israel who developed Kabbalah, but they developed it as a contribution to the world. It's like a person in Russia or Poland who discovered a vaccine, and that vaccine helps all of humanity. Therefore, the Polish discoverer is not going to keep that vaccine only for his nationals, that only Poles get vaccinated because I invented it. No, what this inventor does is to market the vaccine internationally. Kabbalah is exactly the same. It is a spirituality that is a Jewish contribution to the betterment of people. Therefore it's Jewish, undoubtedly. It works with Hebrew, it has its origins in the tradition of Israel, but it's universal because it seeks to help everyone, and doesn't ask the atheist to believe in God, or ask the Christian to leave Christianity, because it doesn't ask anything of anyone. What it does say is, I give you a map. With this gift, you can increase your level of consciousness. Then it seems incredible to me, if someone gives me a gift to increase my level of consciousness, I don't mind if it's Buddha who gives it to me. Oh, Buddha is from India, but since I'm not Indian, then no. However, many teachings of Buddha are very good. Why wouldn't I have Buddha's teachings because I come from Judaism? So it seems to me that we have to denationalize spiritualities, in the sense that it is true that they belong to a root, to a cultural and religious matrix. But the idea of all the people who were in the spiritual world throughout the centuries, of all the religious and cultural tendencies, was the contribution to humanity.
There is an important element that has to do precisely with where Kabbalah comes from, which is that Kabbalah evidently inherits the fact that it is not evangelistic. That is to say, there is, let's say, neither is Judaism.
And besides, I tell you something, I believe that any evangelizing system is dangerously totalitarian, because I believe that you don't have to convince anyone. That is to say, any type of evangelization is a totalitarian type of salvation. If you follow me, I will save you. I believe that Kabbalah is, if you study the model of the sages of Israel, you will be saved, if you study it well and apply it well, and I have nothing to do with it. The best models have been created for you to follow, but the one who has to make the cake and the recipe and put it in the oven is you. That is to say, I am not going to give you the ready-made cake, which means that the external salvation says, I am going to make you useless. You will have neither the recipe nor the cake. I give you the cake and you eat it and you pay me for it. In the Kabbalah, it is not like that. You have to make the cake. You may have to add some of your own ingredients to the cake. You have to see what you put in it, because you can elevate the cake to a higher category. The ingredient can be very interesting. Isaac Luria used to say, each soul has to find the letter of the Torah that belongs to. It means that that soul that enters to study the Kabbalah can come to conclusions that build to a higher level interpretation. Therefore, all souls are welcome to the Kabbalah, because a soul may be seeing something that others cannot see, and we need it to bring this to us. One more ingredient to the cake, that no one ate a cake of this style. Therefore, if we are on our way to an infinite light, we have to be in solidarity with all those who can contribute to us, of all nations and all religions.
Excellent. Mario, let's keep baking cakes with new ingredients.
And let's keep eating them.
Yes.
Not just cooking them. Because it seems that you cook and I eat them.
No.
Thank you, Nacho.
Thank you.
Shalom.
Shalom.